Been used to draw people in, including the rescue personnel, detonate a second explosive device and create additional havoc. It has profound psychological impact.
And fortunately, it was discovered and apparently defused before it could go off. What does this suggest to you about the sophistication, if you will, of the person or persons behind this?
The fact that there were at least 2 bombs, the fact that they selected the target, the level of lethality in regards to the explosive devices indicates that this probably was a rather sophisticated, organized attack.
Okay, we're familiar with the World Trade Center. We're familiar with Beirut. Why Oklahoma City?
I'm troubled by that. I believe it might be a message that the middle of the United States is not inured from terrorism. It may be a wake-up call that we too are going to be subject to acts of terrorism.
Who is behind this, or is it much too premature to speculate?
It's too early, but it seems from the fingerprints we're getting now that it was a sophisticated group, a group that probably engaged in a surveillance over here, who had some infrastructure in this location. It was a group that planned and unfortunately evidently planned well.
Based on your knowledge of the Murrah building, the site of the explosion, what was the level of security there?
I obviously think it was not secure enough. Clearly, I'd rather not go into the details on that.
Dr. Sloan, thank you for joining us. Dr. Sloan will join us throughout the day. Kelly, Jennifer?
All right, Ken, thanks. One of the things that White House correspondent Rita Braver mentioned this afternoon in her coverage is that it was fortunate that not only that they found that second bomb before it was detonated, but having it will help law enforcement officials as they try to determine who are the people that planted it, where did they get their supplies, where did it come from. So that will be beneficial to them in terms of their investigation.
And the FBI has released some suspect information. We want to get that out to you once again. The 3 people possibly involved in this. 2 of them are described as Middle Eastern men, one 20 to 25 years old, another one 35 to 38 years old. They were both wearing blue pants, black shirts, and coats. The driver was not identified, but the vehicle description is very important, and here it is. A brown Chevy pickup with tinted windows and a bug shield on front, last seen northbound on Walker Avenue here in Oklahoma City. If you have any information about that, please get in contact with the Oklahoma City Police Department or the FBI.
We also are getting word just now from IMSA. IMSA is saying that they have received the medical community put out a plea for anybody, paramedics, nurses, doctors who could get downtown and help. They say they have plenty of people there now. You might contact your local hospital or clinic, whatever, if you want to see if there's some other way you can help. One thing you might want to do if you aren't already down there is to wait, because the people who are there are going to need some relief, and this effort to get these people out of these buildings could go on for hours or days. So if you have not responded already, IMSA is saying thank you so much for everybody's concern, but they have all the medical personnel that they need, and so you might just be on standby where people can get to you and get you information so that you could be available as this drags on, as they work to get these critically injured people out of the building.
Many of the injuries that we're seeing from this, many of the injuries that we saw immediately were from surrounding buildings, because the concussion of this blast was so enormous that it blew windows out. You can see in some of these buildings, some of these shots, look at the buildings in the background, you can see the windows are blown out from the mere concussion of it. Flying glass. We heard a man talking on the phone earlier, said he was sitting in his office, window blew out and cut him up. He was 2 or 3 blocks away. So there are many people who suffered minor injuries, cuts from flying glass from their own windows. The streets in downtown Oklahoma City are just littered with glass.
Apparently some of the fatalities are going to be from people who were not inside the building, but who were just walking down the street nearby when this bomb went off. And the count that we have right now, and this is very preliminary, this will no doubt change. We have 8 fatalities, 6 of them children. We believe most of the children who have died were inside the daycare center where federal employees who work in this building, many of them have their children.
And the timing of this apparent bombing, 9 o'clock in the morning, most of these federal government buildings open at 8 to 8:30, so they would have been well into their business day, and many members of the public probably already in the building conducting business. Maybe as many as 900 people, they conjecture.
Yeah, according to the fire department, the fire department does sort of, are we looking live now, or are we still on tape?
There's a live
There's
picture.
a live shot. All right, that's the first live picture we've gotten from the front of the building since they moved us back, gosh, before 11 o'clock, I think.
Right. That's looking, that shot is apparently about 2 or 3 blocks from the north and looking back toward the south. That is the front side of what used to be the front side of the Alfred Murrah Federal Building at 5th and Robinson in downtown Oklahoma City, completely sheared off by what was apparently a massive car bomb.
This again happened around 9 o'clock this morning. If you were anywhere in a 60-mile radius of Oklahoma City, you felt it. Up in this part of the city, it rattled the windows. People who were closer were thrown to the floor. Heidi Browning was at the police station, which is about a half a mile, I think maybe a mile from this, and she said the ceiling tiles flew up and debris fell down from the ceiling, and they thought that the building they were in had been hit. And when she got over here, it was just pandemonium. People were running out of the building. The rescue crews were just arriving. They were digging the children out of the rubble of this daycare center, which is on, she told us it was on the first floor on the east side. Unfortunately, this on the northeast side of the building, so on the part where the bomb blast was most severe. You can see the biggest crater there. You know, hopefully the terrorists didn't specifically target the child care center, but despite what their intention was, they sure hit it, and we ended up with 6 fatalities of children that we know about, and we have 6 fatalities. One of them we know confirmed from St. Anthony Hospital.
And all 8 fatalities. And let it also be said, we want to make sure everyone understands that there were many people who got out of the building. Many of them went out on the back side of the building, the south side of the building that you cannot see from here. As you can imagine, they are scrambling down there, trying to get a count on who is okay, who is in the hospital, and who is missing. And as soon as we get a handle on what that is, and the officials get a handle on what that is, we will pass it along to you. But that's the most important question.
If they gave an count right now, it would be so preliminary that it would be just absolutely wrong. And keep in mind that the total we were given for the number of people who work in this building is just over 500. The fire department says their surveys of usage of buildings indicate to them that there could be more than 900 people inside. So that's 400 people that it's going to be hard to account for, because you don't know who they are. They're people who came in to do business in the Social Security office or one of the other offices inside there. So the task of trying to determine who was in there, first of all, is monumental. Trying to figure out then who got out, who's okay, is going to be really, really difficult. And it could go on, the chief said, for 3 or 4 days.
That's one of the saddest pieces of video that we have seen so far. An Oklahoma City police officer,
Right.
I believe,
Who
holding a
just
child.
volunteered, came over to help.
Might have been, we hope, just injured. We continue. We have crews at the hospitals. We have crews downtown. You saw Gan Matthews downtown. Randy Renner is downtown. Angela Buckaloo is at one of the hospitals. Robin Marsh is downtown. Everyone we have, we've thrown all of our forces at this for obvious reasons. And Newsline 9's Heidi Browning is also, she has returned to the station. She was downtown this morning when it happened, and she is going to join us in just a moment live here from the studio. But right now, let's go to Tammy.
Can you hear me? There we
Yes,
go.
we can
Heidi's
hear you
on her
now.
way there. I'll quickly pass this along as Heidi gets set up. She has some incredible stories to tell you because she saw so much of this firsthand right after the explosion. She arrived on the scene. We'll go to her in just a moment. First, let me pass along to you. It's an incredible effort in Oklahoma. I mean, the eyes of the nation are on Oklahoma right now after this.